Did you know there was a runaway roller coaster car at Bell's Amusement Park that slid backward and crashed into another car? It killed a 14-year-old boy and injured 6 others. This is just one of the many terrifying roller coaster accidents in history. Have you ever wondered what the chances are of having an accident on a roller coaster? Or even more chilling, what are the odds of dying on one? The odds of a fatal roller coaster accident are incredibly low, about 1 in 750 million. So basically, you're safer on the rides than you are on the drive to the park. But despite these reassuring numbers, there are always those rare and tragic instances where things go horribly wrong. In this video, we're going to look at some of the worst roller coaster accidents ever. We will talk about what happened, why it happened, and what changes were made to keep it from happening again. Stick around to learn about the shocking events behind these roller coaster disasters. Number 1. Big Dipper Roller Coaster. The Big Dipper roller coaster disaster at Battersea Fun Fair is one of those tragic events that you can't quite believe happened. On May 30, 1972, a seemingly ordinary day at the fun fair turned into a nightmare. Packed with children and teenagers enjoying their half-term break, the roller coaster's haulage rope suddenly snapped. This sent the carriages hurtling backward down the track.
Well, we got there and we went on the haunted mine first, and then we decided to go on the Big Dipper, and we were going up the hill, and it suddenly stopped and it went down again, and it went back the wrong way, and I don't know what happened after that.
You can't remember anything. When can you remember waking up?
Oh, it's horrible. I woke up and it's horrible.
Like what?
Well, there's all blood everywhere.
Were you here in the hospital or still at the fairground?
We were at the fairground still. But I couldn't move hardly because there was people on top of me. And then they took us out into the ambulances.
Were there people trying to move pieces of the carriages? Can you remember any of that?
Yes, they had to get it off the top of us because we were sort of trapped.
In a desperate bid to stop the runaway train, the brakeman tried everything but couldn't stop the disaster. The carriages derailed and smashed into the hoarding below. It was pure chaos. 5 young passengers lost their lives and 13 were left injured. The fun fair, once a place of joy on London's South Bank, was plunged into shock and grief. Investigations later uncovered a slew of safety issues, faulty arresters, rotten structures, and overall negligence. Even though regular inspections were supposedly done, these dangers were missed. This disaster stands as one of the deadliest roller coaster accidents in history and serves as a grim reminder of why we need strict safety regulations. Number 2. Wild Wonder.
The peak of its steep climb and plunged backward. Why, when the car hit a 90-degree turn?
The Wild Wonder roller coaster disaster at Killian's Wonderland Pier in Ocean City, New Jersey, is a story that still sends shivers down the spine. On August 28, 1999, the ride malfunctioned.
New Jersey rewrote its amusement ride safety code 2 years ago, increased the number of inspectors and inspections. The state says there have been 20% fewer serious accidents this year than last year, although nationally such accidents are up 20%. The brand new Wild Wonder passed 2 inspections in July.
Just 11 days before the tragedy, the maintenance crew replaced the crucial train and safety dogs with low-quality, locally made ones against the law. These parts quickly wore out and became misaligned during the ride.
Was operating as normal. A car loaded with 2 guests seated in the front row dispatched from the station. The car rounded the 90-degree turn out of the station and headed up the lift hill. The chain dog did not fully engage with the lift hill due to the previously mentioned misalignment between the chain dog and the lift. As the car was about to crest the lift at a height of about 35 feet or 10.5 meters, the chain dog completely lost contact with the chain. The car began to rapidly fall backwards down the lift hill. As the car rounded the 90-degree turn leading to the station, the extremely high lateral force combined with the restraints not being designed to hold riders when they experienced lateral forces in reverse unfortunately caused the 2 riders to be ejected from the car. Sadly, both were killed by the subsequent fall.
On that fateful day, a car with 2 riders started its climb, but then slipped backwards when the chain dog failed to grip. The safety dog, which should have stopped the fall, also malfunctioned. As the car sped backward around a sharp turn, the riders were thrown out, tragically losing their lives. 2 more people were hurt in the station when the runaway car crashed into another. This horrific event forced New Jersey to tighten amusement park safety laws. The incident remains a somber reminder of the critical importance of rigorous maintenance and compliance with safety regulations. Number 3. Cobra Ride.
It happened at the Tivoli Freehidden Amusement Park on a roller coaster called Cobra. According to a company spokesperson, the last few seats on the roller coaster broke off and were reportedly hanging under.
Let's talk about the Cobra roller coaster disaster at Tivoli Freehidden in Aarhus, Denmark. It was July 14, 2022 when this truly nightmarishly incident occurred. Everything seemed fine until the rear car of the Cobra roller coaster suddenly broke free from the track. In an instant, joy turned into terror as a 14-year-old girl tragically lost her life and 2 other children were injured.
The passenger seats were attached to the lower part of the ride instead of inside the train cars. And on that terrible July day, for no apparent reason, the last 2 seats derailed, hit the ride railings.
The Cobra, a ride that was supposed to be thrilling and fun, had its dark past. Back in 2008, it had a similar accident, but this time, the consequences were fatal. The chaos was real. There are screams, people running, and the park shutting down immediately. The park's director was devastated and said that a place meant for happiness had become a scene of tragedy. After the accident, Tivoli Freehidden closed the Cobra for good. The investigation revealed strong safety issues that had gone unnoticed. The entire community was left in shock, and a memorial outside the park now honors the young girl who lost her life. Number 4. Big Dipper at Krug Park.
Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska, was the scene of one of America's worst amusement park accidents, when a series of cars left the track of a wooden roller coaster and plunged over the edge of a 35-foot drop, killing 4 people and wounding 19 others.
On July 24, 1930, a terrible accident occurred at Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska. The Big Dipper roller coaster experienced a catastrophic failure when a front car jumped off the track while being winched up. This caused 4 cars to plummet 35 feet to the ground. As a result, 4 people lost their lives and 19 others were terribly injured. The scene was chaotic as people rushed to help, and police had to tear down fences to allow ambulances to reach the victims. An investigation revealed that a loose bolt had caused a brake shoe to jam, leading to the derailment. This tragic event led Omaha to ban roller coasters within the city. Despite efforts to keep the park open, it closed in 1940. Today, the area is known as Gallagher Park, with no memorial to the victims of that fateful day. Number 5. Mindbender Roller Coaster. On June 14, 1986, the Mindbender roller coaster at Galaxyland experienced a devastating accident that shocked everyone. everything seemed normal until the left wheel assembly on the fourth car suddenly detached. This caused the car to fishtail uncontrollably, which in turn unlocked the lap bars and ejected 4 passengers. The ride, unable to complete its loop, rolled backward and crashed into concrete supports.
3 people, a woman and 2 men, died in the accident. The 4th victim, a man, was rushed to hospital with broken legs and chest injuries, lucky to be alive. The 12 remaining passengers were treated for shock.
Because it was shaking a lot.
The remaining passengers were left stranded.
The tragic result was the death of 3 passengers and critical, life-altering injuries to the 4th.
Well, you could feel something going bang, bang, bang all the way down it, and you didn't know what was happening.
Investigations revealed multiple failures, including poor quality control from the manufacturer and inadequate maintenance practices at the park. This horrifying incident led to major changes in the roller coaster industry, with stricter safety standards and more rigorous maintenance protocols being implemented. Number 6. Quimera Ride. On a busy afternoon on September 28, 2019, Quimera at La Feria Chapultepec Mágico in Mexico City experienced a devastating accident. As the coaster climbed the lift hill and zoomed through the 3rd loop, disaster struck. The 5th car's right wheel assembly suddenly broke loose. The car crashed into a support beam, which tore it from the train and sent it to the ground. Despite the lap bars being locked, the wild forces flung the riders out. Tragically, 2 passengers died and 2 others were seriously injured. According to the investigation, there was a mess of issues like non-original parts, a badly translated manual, and the ride operating faster than it should have been. There were cracks in the track, improper bolts, and shoddy maintenance. The park operators were charged with homicide, and this tragedy led to a massive drop in amusement park attendance in Mexico. Of course, who would want to visit the death park? Number 7. Fujin Raijin 2.
That would be the first deadly amusement ride accident in Japanese history.
In the early 90s, Expo Land in Osaka, Japan was a hotspot for thrill seekers. But on May 5, 2007, a tragic accident on the Fujin Raijin 2 roller coaster changed everything.
Coaster manufactured by Japanese company Togo. The ride was well liked by the public after its opening, with it quickly becoming one of the most popular rides at the park.
As the ride zoomed through its second valley, the left wheel axle on the second car snapped and caused the car to tilt and slam into a supporting handrail. This horrifying incident resulted in the death of 19-year-old Yoshina Kagara and serious injuries to another rider, while 18 others suffered minor injuries.
2. The park found little success as most of the Japanese public was now upset with the park. Expo Land closed forever in December of 2007 and was demolished. Today, the Japanese amusement industry is still feeling the effects of this accident. Much of the public is not willing to visit amusement parks due to this accident, and many of the smaller parks have now closed due to the stricter inspection requirements. The parks that do remain are safer than ever, and the future is looking brighter for them every day.
Investigations revealed shocking neglect. The coaster's wheels had never been replaced, and glue was used to help keep the axles in place. The axles simply couldn't handle years of stress. This tragedy led to urgent inspections across Japan. It further revealed that 40% of roller coasters hadn't had proper checks. Expo Land closed for good in December 2007 due to a drop in visitors. Number 8. Jetline roller coaster. Grönalund, the oldest theme park in Sweden, had a heartbreaking incident on June 25, 2023. The Jetline roller coaster derailed, and a 35-year-old woman lost her life. 9 others were injured. The day started off just like any other, but things took a turn when guests noticed that Jetline was closed. After a quick check, the mechanics gave the green light as they thought it was safe to ride. At 11:30 a.m., 14 excited riders hopped on. As they climbed the famous curved lift hill, something went terribly wrong. What happened next will shock you. An eyewitness below heard strange noises and then saw a wheel assembly drop from the front car. The coaster partially derailed and 3 people were thrown from the front car. It was a terrifying sight. 2 were seriously injured while the rest had minor injuries. As per the investigation, it was found that the front support arm of the first carriage had snapped, which was the main reason the wheels came off. This led to a criminal investigation. The prosecutor pointed out that there were no seatbelts on the ride. Do you think the seatbelts could have prevented these injuries? Number 9. Matterhorn Bobsled.
A mountain where people would go tobogganing inside of it, and tunnels full of artificial snow. However, in 1959 it was converted into a roller coaster. The upper part of the mountain, which encompassed...
The worst incidents at theme parks are the ones so gruesome that even medics have a hard time dealing with them. Dolly Regina Young, a 48-year-old Avon lady from Fremont, California, tragically died at Disneyland on January 1984. She boarded the Matterhorn Bobsled roller coaster. Mid-ride, Dolly somehow fell onto the tracks. A second train, unable to stop in time, struck her and resulted in a horrifying and fatal accident. The park's automatic system shut down the roller coaster, but the damage was done. The screams from the gondola and the second train alerted the workers, who rushed to the scene. The sight was so horrific that one worker had to lead the family out and prevent others from seeing it. An investigation revealed Dolly's seatbelt was open. This sparks debates about whether it malfunctioned or if she unfastened it. Disneyland insisted that all belts were checked, but Dolly's family argued she was too cautious to remove it.
Even boasted a tunnel specifically made for the old Skyway gondola ride to pass through. This ride no longer exists. However, an upgraded version of the roller coaster still exists, and it's a big hit.
Just 24 hours after Dolly's death, the Matterhorn bobsled was running again. In February 1984, her family filed a $5 million wrongful death lawsuit against Disney. The case dragged on until 1988, when Disneyland settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. Number 10. Treetop Twister.
The ride would twist and turn, making riders feel as if they might fall into the treetops below. But no one could have guessed that this...
In 2001, Lightwater Valley in Yorkshire installed the Treetop Twister, a fun, spinning roller coaster. But on June 21, 2001, a terrible accident happened. Gemma Savage, a 20-year-old student from Durham University, was riding the Twister with a friend.
Began its familiar climb. Everything seemed like any other ride on the Treetop Twister. The carriage ascended, made its twists and turns, and spun as designed.
The ride suddenly stopped because the car in front hadn't cleared the safety section. Normally, this prevents crashes, but the coaster had faulty wiring. An operator overrode the system, which caused Gemma's car to collide with the one in front.
In 2021, after Lightwater Valley announced that they were removing most of their thrill rides, and I believe the coaster is now on the travelling fair circuit.
She was airlifted to the hospital, but tragically died the next day. Her friend suffered whiplash and back pain. Lightwater Valley and the ride's electrician were found guilty of breaking safety laws, and the manufacturer was also held responsible. Shockingly, in 2019, a 7-year-old boy fell from the same ride and was critically injured. The Twister was removed in 2021. Number 11. Space Journey. 2010 saw one of the worst amusement park disasters ever. 6 people lost their lives and 10 more were injured when the Space Journey ride at OCT East Echo Adventure in Shenzhen, China went horribly wrong. The ride was meant to simulate the Apollo 11 mission, but ended more like a nightmare. On June 29, 2010 at 4:49 p.m., a car on the ride detached and fell 39 feet. The connecting arm wasn't strong enough and the bolts were either broken or missing. The car caught fire and filled the building with smoke. 4 people in the car died instantly and 2 more died from smoke inhalation. So, who's to blame? Poor maintenance or a faulty ride? The park tried to cover its tracks by compensating the victims, but the ride was a prototype from a small, cheap knockoff company that underestimated the necessary strength. Number 12. Orlando Freefall.
Fined of the state of Florida and be barred from operating any rides in the state of Florida.
In 2022, a tragic accident happened on the Orlando Freefall drop tower at Icon Park, where a 14-year-old boy, Tyra Sampson, died on what was supposed to be a fun ride.
The riders now facing the ground, the ride dropped. As the ride reached the bottom of the tower and started to slow down, the rider in seat number 1 slipped under the restraint and fell to the ground.
He was visiting from Missouri and couldn't fit into the seat on another ride, so they sent him to the Freefall. Did you know he weighed 383 pounds, way over the 300-pound limit? But here's the shocking part. Someone tampered with the safety sensors on his seat. When the ride dropped, Tyra's restraint opened. He tried to hold on but couldn't. He fell 75 feet to his death. Can you imagine the horror? People watched this happen right in front of them. After this, the ride was shut down for good. This terrible event shows just how important safety checks are. How could something like this happen? Safety should always come first. Number 13. Rolling Thunder. A tragic accident happened at Rolling Thunder. Scott Tyler, a 20-year-old park employee from Middletown, New Jersey, died during a test ride. Can you believe it? He didn't secure his lap bar and took a dangerous riding position. Why would anyone do that? The coaster was going about 35 miles per hour when he was thrown off during a high-speed turn. The New Jersey Department of Labor and Industry reported that all safety equipment was in place when the ride started. So what went wrong? Tyler climbed out of the lap bar, holding on for dear life. Sadly, it wasn't enough, and he fell to his death. He suffered a fractured skull and multiple injuries. OSHA investigated and fined the park, but the roller coaster was found to be structurally and mechanically safe. Shockingly, it reopened just 2 days later. Number 14. Derby Racer. Derby Racer was a name shared by 2 wooden roller coasters at Revere Beach in Massachusetts, and they had some shocking history. The first Derby Racer, built in 1911, cost $140,000 and featured side-by-side tracks where 2 trains raced each other. Sounds fun, right? But wait until you hear what happened.
Massachusetts. The first coaster was built in 1911.
Just weeks after opening, a young man was thrown from the coaster and suffered life-threatening injuries. 6 years later, another man was killed after being thrown in front of a train.
The name was built in 1937 and demolished.
The accidents didn't stop there. In 1923, a couple was badly hurt, and in 1929, another rider was thrown from a train, which led to a court case in 1935. The original coaster was demolished in 1936. A second derby racer was built in 1937, but also had a short life, being demolished in 1948. Would you have dared to ride it? Number 15. Ride of Steel.
Many who was on the Ride of Steel at Darien.
In July 2011, a devastating accident occurred on the Ride of Steel at Six Flags Darien Lake. A 20-year-old park employee, Scott Tyler, was killed during a morning test ride. Yep, a test ride.
Although it says all of the passengers were...
He didn't secure his lap bar and assumed an unauthorized riding position. Why would anyone take such a risk?
The part where you do kind of jump out of your seat a little bit, but no one expected that to happen.
Denise Tefel was waiting for her daughters and their friends when she heard that someone had fallen off the ride.
The ride was operating normally, and all safety equipment was in place, but Tyler's daredevil move cost him his life. He was ejected from the train while it was traveling at around 35 miles per hour, which resulted in a fatal fall.
Uses the system. Today, guests using alternate access at most parks must visit guest services or a similar location and be evaluated by someone trained on ride safety as it relates to rides at the park. This
were just, they were hysterical.
The New Jersey Department of Labor and Industry confirmed that the safety equipment was functional, but Tyler's risky behavior led to the tragedy. The park was fined for safety violations. It is a solid reminder to always secure your safety restraints on rides, even if it is just a test ride. Why take unnecessary risks? Number 6. Texas Giant Roller Coaster.
A 21-year-old mother fell to her death Friday while riding the coaster with her family at Six Flags over Texas. And while the Horcus is...
Rosa Esparza, a 52-year-old woman from Dallas, fell 75 feet to her death from the Texas Giant Roller Coaster at Six Flags over Texas on July 19, 2013.
At 14 stories high with a 79-degree drop, the Texas Giant is the tallest and steepest steel and wood.
Her family is suing Six Flags for negligence. They said that the T-shaped lap bar that was supposed to keep her safe failed. Esparza was in the front left seat of the second car. Her daughter and son-in-law were in the front seat and saw her holding on for dear life. Her daughter heard Rosa's screams and then saw her mother's feet in the air before she was thrown off the ride. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be for her?
Scary and sad. A mother falling to her death while riding the Texas Giant roller coaster at Six Flags. There were people on the ride and in line.
The lawsuit says that after Esparza's death, inspections found issues with the ride's safety systems. Six Flags replaced a faulty limit switch on her car, but they claim there were no mechanical failures. The family sought at least $1 million in compensation.
In the theme park world for its thrilling ride experience. Over time, wooden roller coasters like the Texas Giant required extensive maintenance.
Now, Six Flags is reopening the ride with new seat belts and a sample seat at the entrance so riders can check if they fit safely. Do you think that's enough? Number 17. Perilous Plunge. Another heartbreaking incident happened in September 2011 when Lori Mason Lares' trip to Knott's Berry Farm turned tragic.
These restraints were meant to keep riders in their seats and provide a level of stability and safety.
Lori boarded the Perilous Plunge, a 121-foot tall water ride. At 292 pounds, she struggled with the seatbelt, but the ride operator didn't check if she was secured properly. Can you believe how irresponsible that was for the operator? As the ride dipped down, Lori was thrown from her seat and crashed into the ramps below. Her daughter watched in horror as Lori suffered a fractured skull and severed leg. She died just an hour later. Knott's Berry Farm faced a lawsuit from Laurie's family as they accused them of negligence. They claimed the ride's restraints weren't suitable for larger riders. Shockingly, the ride operator's training was limited to the manufacturer's manual. The park settled the case without admitting guilt. The Perilous Plunge eventually shut down in 2012. Number 18. El Toro.
Derailed. It didn't reopen again until this year. That all changed last night.
Have you heard about the El Toro accident at Six Flags Great Adventure? It is gonna blow your mind.
Captured this video of ambulances at that park last night. Six Flags told us today.
On June 29, Car 6 of the roller coaster derailed at the top of the lift hill. It got dragged along the track, made screeching noises, and even caused smoke. Imagine the shock of the 32 guests on board. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but they had to be evacuated quickly.
Before the first drop, and was dragged through the rest of the circuit.
Just 2 weeks earlier, the park had another accident on the log flume. What is going on with the safety there? Rumors say the derailed car ripped out thousands of track bolts. Can you believe that? Inspectors couldn't find the exact cause, but the ride has been shut down for a full review. As someone who loves roller coasters, this hits close to home. I hope El Toro comes back better and safer. Do you think you would ride it after such incidents? Number 19. Space Invader. Imagine going to an amusement park for a fun day with friends, only for things to take a horrifying turn. This is what happened to 11-year-old Christopher Sherritt at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Christopher and his friends were enjoying the rides when they decided to get on the Space Invader roller coaster. As the ride started, everything seemed normal, but suddenly, Christopher slipped out of his car. His friend turned around to see him falling out, even though his seatbelt was still fastened. Christopher hit his head on a support beam and then fell onto the track where he was struck by another car. He died instantly from severe injuries. The ride operator stopped the ride immediately, but it was too late. After the accident, the Space Invader was closed for an investigation. They found that Christopher might have panicked and unbuckled his seatbelt. No charges were filed against the park. The ride reopened later with improved safety measures and continued to operate until it was eventually sold and renamed Astro Storm. Number 20. Batman Ride. Everyone gets excited when they hear Six Flags, right? But what if I told you about 2 horrifying incidents on the Batman ride at Six Flags over Georgia? And mind it, these are not your usual coaster mishaps. In 2008, 17-year-old Asia Ferguson was having a great day at the park. After lunch, he and his friends decided to jump a fence for a shortcut. Big mistake. Asia climbed over another fence into a restricted area, and a speeding train hit him. He was decapitated instantly. Just 6 years later, in 2002, a park employee, Samuel Guyton, was in a restricted area and was struck by a rider's foot. He had a heart attack, and despite efforts to revive him, he died shortly after. Why were they in these dangerous spots? These incidents show how important it is to follow safety rules at amusement parks. Would you ever risk ignoring those warning signs? Number 21. Extreme Roller Coaster. This is another terrifying roller coaster accident video where a 21-year-old girl named Lindsay Zeno went to Dixieland Amusement Park. On July 11, 2010, everything changed when she boarded the Extreme roller coaster. As the ride sped along, Lindsay's restraint failed, and she was thrown 30 feet to the ground. How can something like this happen? Witnesses said she tried to fix the chest bar but couldn't. She fell, and her friends didn't realize until the ride stopped. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Lindsay didn't survive. According to the investigation, there were no mechanical failures, and ride operators claimed they had checked her restraints. The park added more safety measures, but questions remain. Did her size play a role? Why wasn't anyone held accountable? This tragedy left everyone wondering if it could have been prevented. Number 22. The Smiler. On June 2, 2015, Alton Towers witnessed a horrifying event when the Smiler roller coaster crashed. Two teenage girls, Vicky Balch and Lee Washington, each lost a leg, and 14 other riders were injured. But what really happened? That day, the Smiler was operating as usual despite high winds. Around 1 p.m., the ride experienced technical difficulties and was temporarily shut down. The operations team added a 5th train to the track without informing the maintenance team. When the ride reopened at 1:40 p.m., they sent the empty new train around without using water dummies. Due to strong winds, this train stalled on the track. Another train, loaded with passengers, was dispatched and stopped at the top of the lift hill. Mistaking the stall for a ghost train, maintenance overrode the safety mechanism. This led to the loaded train colliding with the stalled empty one. Alton Towers was fined £5 million, and the investigation revealed a series of errors and poor communication. Now, stricter safety measures and protocols are in place to prevent such accidents in the future. Number 23. Inferno roller coaster. This video is about an 18-year-old guy from Iceland, Andre Svensson. He was on holiday with his family at Terra Mítica in Spain. During a ride on the Inferno roller coaster, Andre's safety harness suddenly failed. Imagine the horror. One moment he's enjoying the thrill, and the next, he's falling 50 meters to the concrete below. But what actually went wrong? Despite the park's claim of regular inspections, the police found that the safety system had failed. The ride operators said he exceeded the weight limit, but they let him ride anyway. How could they let this happen? Andre's family was devastated. His father spoke of the heartbreak and the disbelief that such negligence could occur. The park was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing that left many questions unanswered. The Inferno ride reopened after a few months of closure for investigation. But can anyone truly feel safe knowing what happened to Andre? Number 24. Raptor Roller Coaster. Cedar Point in Ohio, known for its thrilling roller coasters, had a tragic day on August 13, 2015. James Young, a 45-year-old high school guidance counselor, was there for his annual visit. While riding the Raptor, a steel inverted roller coaster, he lost his phone and wallet. Instead of waiting for help, he made a fatal decision. Ignoring the park safety rules, Young climbed the 2 fences to retrieve his belongings. He didn't realize the danger he was in. As he bent to pick up his items, the Raptor train, traveling at high speed, struck him.
Mr. Young was struck by the Raptor train that was in operation. As a result of our investigation by the Sandusky Police Department
The impact was severe, and despite a quick emergency response, Young died from his injuries.
Saw a Young in the restricted area prior to the accident. The report also states that still...
Cedar Point closed the ride for an investigation, but reopened it soon after, deemed safe. Young's father criticized the park, saying the fence was too easy to climb. However, the park maintained it met safety standards. This tragedy highlights the importance of following park rules. Ignoring them can have deadly consequences. Number 25. Wildcat Roller Coaster.
News Channel's Tyler Ballard digs in.
And the last horrific roller coaster accident in today's video dates back to April 1997. That was when a tragedy struck Bell's Amusement Park in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 14-year-old Patrick John Couric was killed in the accident on the Wildcat roller coaster. It was a beautiful spring day, and Patrick, his twin brother Henry, and their parents were enjoying the park. Around 6 p.m., they boarded the Wildcat. As the coaster neared the top, it suddenly slid backward and crashed into another car. Patrick was thrown from his seat. He hit a metal bar and died instantly. His brother and another boy, Ryan Denton, were critically injured. Investigators found that the park had replaced an important part with cheap plastic that became responsible for the ride to fail. No criminal charges were filed, but the families received financial settlements. The park eventually closed in 2006. How could such a preventable accident happen? Will amusement parks ever prioritize safety over a few bucks? Nobody wakes up thinking it's going to be their last day, especially on a fun day at an amusement park. Roller coasters are made for thrill, not kill. Yet, as we've seen from these worst roller coaster accidents in human history, tragedy can strike when least expected. Next time you're at an amusement park, remember these stories. Appreciate the engineering work and safety measures that make your ride both thrilling and secure. And always, always follow the rules. Safety isn't just the park's responsibility, it is yours too. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more.